Hey guys, this is Dennis Wolf, and this is the new cover of Muscular Development. Please check it out, pick it up at the stores. MD is #1, no bull.
Shawn right here from Muscular Development Online with Peter McGough, our senior writer. Peter, we just got out of one of the more hotly, I don't even want to call it debatable, but it sounded like argumentative Mr. Olympia press conferences in recent past.
Maybe of all time. I mean, we've seen before where there's been a focus on trying to go WWE, but I think the nastiness we saw today wasn't put on. It was genuine, and the nastiness was between Kai and Phil Heath. Most of it, to be honest, coming from Kai.
Yeah, it seemed to be a little bit personal. I was part of one of those controversial press conferences in my last Olympia, 2001, but it had a lot more to do with the infrastructure, the prize money, the changing of the judges, the transparency on the scoring. I mean, things that would affect the entire panel, not a one-man conversation. This seemed to be raw, real emotion, where Kai Greene is now fed up with being a first runner-up, being dismissed by the champion, but Phil Heath was very adamant that it's been very disrespectful going back to last year, where Kai Greene was actually signing photographs as the 2013 Mr. Olympia, which we know did not come to pass, but he's done it again in 2014.
Yeah, and then Phil was talking about dedicating this Olympia to his father who died earlier in the year, and Kai interrupted and said, you should have dedicated the first 3 to your father. That took it to a whole new level. And as it went downhill from there, my thought was, I just wonder what NBC are thinking of this, because this wasn't WWE, this was childish and nasty as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of Mr. T in Rocky when he was giving the press conference, and Mr. T came out really angry and fired up. Definitely had people sitting up and taking notice that Kai Greene had better deliver on the goods, because Kai's throwing a lot out there. Now the question is, in 24 hours, can he back it up? That's the big question.
Well, I think the thing is, I mean, we've seen Kai at previous press conferences almost being asleep, as if it's going by. We've never seen him this animated, and it wasn't like he was just buzzed for 3 minutes. All the way through, his face, there was one point where he challenged Phil. He was talking about kicking ass. I'll kick your ass now. Now, I don't think he was talking about double biceps, and he was half out of his seat. You know, I think he's really fired up. It's now or never for him. There's going to be fireworks on Friday. When them two stand next to each other, it's going to get very, very physical.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we expected fireworks regardless of all of this. I mean, all this testosterone came out, but there's 17 guys on this stage. A lot of rookies that are just saying, I'm happy to be here, but I'm not sure they signed up for this type of a debate before going out there on the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, Shawn Roden probably summed it up by saying it's a pleasure to be here as part of the Kai and Phil show. Yeah. You know, that was a great line. And you know, the other guys were trying to, you know, get through the press conference, get something to eat, get some carbs inside them. But I've never seen anything like that between two bodybuilders. I really did fear at one point Kai was going to come across and we'd see what happened. Dennis James and Chicarella would have had to split them up.
Well, what we're going to be looking for tomorrow is whether this carries over on stage, because it's going to hit the stage at 7 p.m. That being said, we can't ignore a very quiet and reserved Dennis Wolf, very reminiscent of last year, a very determined Branch Warren, who's got the biggest mountain to climb by trying to remain in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, we've got other factors in there. I mean, you know, like you say, Dennis Wolf is in there. Dexter Jackson, I'm going to be very interested to see him. He looks bigger and he looks as full and as separated as ever been. Shawn Roden supposedly put on 15 pounds. I don't think he's a guy who makes things light up. Is it quality pounds? We'll find out on Friday.
Well, there's a lot more going on. I'm going to bring in our other half over here at MD. Step on in here, Big David Baye. You can step right in between me and Peter. You're gaining weight. Last time you were a little bit smaller, but Peter alluded to the fact that this was more of a physical challenge from Kai Greene, who normally, he's never at a loss for words, but he's normally a lot more reserved than he is now. Is this an indication that his physique is where he's always wanted it to be? 40 pounds heavier, he says.
I don't know. You know, we all know that Kai signed those posters last year as Mr. Olympia, which was a bold and, in my opinion, a bit of an arrogant move. As Phil Heath had pointed out, there's a lot of guys who work really hard to earn that title, and there's a value to that title among bodybuilders that you can't even it's worth more than anything. So you don't come in and say, I'm Mr. Olympia before you earn it. It's disrespectful to Phil. It's disrespectful to everybody else who has earned that title in the past. That all being said, I would like to think that Kai's going to bring something he hasn't in the way he was talking in there. I mean, I'm still kind of blown away as far as what happened in there. We knew it was going to get heated. I had no idea that it was going to get as heated as it did.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could talk all day about what we just saw. We got some interviews to do before these guys are cutting out over there. One thing is for sure, that if Kai Greene claims to be 40 pounds heavier than he was last year, I'm not so sure he's going to bring a better package.
I think he meant he's 40 pounds heavier than Phil.
But is he bigger than last year? That's the question.
I don't think it matters that if he's bigger than last year or not. We've seen Kai try to play that game where he's going to come out and be absolutely as big as he possibly can, and when he does that, he loses the detail, he loses the conditioning, which Phil always has, and it's not a good move for him. And I don't know. I don't see. We all know that whatever you weigh on stage, that doesn't equal that you're going to beat anybody. So I think him throwing out numbers as far as his weight is irrelevant at this point.
Peter, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, last year Kai came in bigger than 2012, and he lost out big time on the detail. In 2012, he went the other way, streamlined, but he lost too much. In the most muscular, Phil just blew him away, because when he loses that amount of muscle, Kai, he loses it from the traps, which aren't the biggest anyway, and from the delts, and it just doesn't look good. So he's tried both those strategies. I can't see how he can be a lot heavier than last year and in the condition he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, what I can tell you, it sounded like a very frustrated bodybuilder. Bigger isn't always necessarily better. Muhammad McAway proved that, Lee Labrada, myself included. Phil Heath does what he did last year, and Kai Greene changed anything, it might be to his detriment. But we're going to get some interviews. Right now we're here live at the press conference here at the Orleans Arena at the 50th anniversary of the Joe Weider Mr. Olympia weekend. For Peter, for David, I'm Shawn Ray, MuscularDevelopment.com.